All right, so let's go. Another interesting one. Grenada intervention and invasion creates rift in the Caribbean. And we're going to look at this on the 13th of November 1983, shortly after the invasion has taken place. Now, Caribbean officials said that the invasion of Grenada had caused new rift among the countries of the Caribbean and appears to have set back efforts of political and economic cooperation in the area, even with CARIFTA and CARICOM and the Free Trade Association in the Caribbean Sea. Now, there are also signs that the United States-led invasion has increased the levels of nervousness and anxieties, especially here in Ghana, which was among the nations in the Caribbean that was the friendliest and had the friendliest ties to the former government of Maurice Bishop in Grenada, and also obviously other socialist countries like North Korea and even, well, Cuba. Now, Grenada itself is pursuing what is called cooperative socialism and has good relations with Cuba as well. Now, Ghana's president, Lyndon Forbes Burnham, said that the United States in an interview Wednesday night, basically the prevailing attitude and ethics is that if you don't like your form of government, that they are free to use enemies, including intervention, just to remove it, just so. Now, divisions appear to have arisen particularly between Barbados, Jamaica, and the smaller countries that took place in the invasion, especially Dominica and even other such little islandettes. And that the four Caribbean countries that oppose it were the Bahamas, Belize, Ghana, and of course Trinidad and Tobago, which the trade talks has stalled between all 6 and 7 of these Caribbean countries: Barbados, Jamaica, Belize, Ghana, Trinidad and Tobago, the Bahamas, and of course Dominica as well as a few other island nations, and even the United States as well. Now, alright, trade talks that were underway between Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago have been stalled by the invasion and because of the invasion, according to officials in the region. Talks and even rumors have been circulating, as well as the disbandment of the regional organization known as CARICOM, which tries to gain cooperation on economic and political matters, and replacing it with one that does not include the countries that resisted the military action, but might include the Dominican Republic and even Haiti, which is ruled by Papa Doc or Francois Duvalier, or Baby Doc. Whether CARICOM survives, says Rachel Jackson, Ghana's foreign minister at the time, will be a measure of the maturity of its leaders. Mr. Burnham, whose country is on the north coast of South America, is going through one of the worst financial crises in the Caribbean, and has expressed concern since the invasion that his country might be of greater economic pressure from the United States because of its position as a socialist country in South America, friendly to what was Grenada that was overthrown, and also Cuba. Even before the invasion, he said, the United States blocked a loan to Ghana from the Inter-American Development Bank, apparently because of its objection to the country's growing tendencies to socialism, and not because of the Jonestown massacre that was a couple of years ago. Doubts of security were actually threatened as well. Mr. Burnham dismissed the idea that the United States and Grenada's Caribbean neighbors actually because they felt their security was threatened by Cuba's involvement on the island. Now, everyone in Cuba is no match, and everyone knows that the Soviet Union could not deploy serious and deadly weapons in Cuba with the United States knowing about it, because we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, right guys? He said. Well, not all that, but he said. Mr. Burnham dismissed the idea that the United States and Grenada's Caribbean neighbors acted because they felt their security was threatened by Cuba's involvement on the island. Everyone knows that Cuba is no match, and anyone knows that the Soviet Union could not deploy serious and deadly weapons in Cuba with the United States knowing it, he said. The threat, he added, was that if the Grenadians succeeded in transforming their economy, other countries in the position might see that this ideology, that economic tactics on part of the Grenada might be good. There's nothing in international law that says that a good reason for invading is that, right? Citing his country's own history, Mr. Burnham expressed doubts that the invasion would succeed in permanently eliminating the political elements it opposed in the first place. Now, in 1953, the British suppressed the constitution to get rid of Burnham and Jagan, he said, referring to himself and the leader of the opposition, Cheddi Jagan, a Marxist. In 1957, when the first elections were held, Jagan won. Later, Burnham won, and it's been Burnham and Jagan ever since. Ghana takes hardest line on the invasion as well. Ghana, which had taken the hardest line on the Caribbean countries against the invasion, has not decided what its relation with the new Grenadian government would be. While Mr. Burnham originally said that he would not set up diplomatic relations with any new government formed by the invading forces, his view appeared to have been softened at the appointment of Meredith Alistair McIntyre, a former CARICOM official who is well known and well regarded among regional leaders, to head an interim government in Grenada for the time. Mr. Burnham said Wednesday night that depending on what his powers are and what the interim government level of independence would be, relations would be possible, even restored. Not all that, right? While he said that the efforts at the economic pressure were possible from his Caribbean neighbors as well, they can't hurt us with trade. Even grain of rice that is exportable, we have markets for that. So that is that. But there you go. Caribbean is thrown up in a rift at the Grenadian invasion as the interim government of Grenada is made. This is going to be on the 13th of November 1983. Those were excerpts for Maurice Bishop in my Barbadian accent because I don't know a Guyanese accent. And also there was Rachel Jackson, which is a Guyanese woman, which is even going to be worse for me. But there you go. Every quote and everything, I tried to do it in my best voice. And with that being said, this is the NN signing off on the 13th of November 1983. Just before the new year is about to begin, we're going to look and see how the Caribbean transforms from here. Would we have CARIBOM? Would we have NAFTA? Would we have CARIFTA? What is going to happen to the Caribbean and solidarity within the Caribbean? And also there were other countries involved in the invasion as well. Can't come off the top of my head, but I do believe it was Barbados, Jamaica. It was also Dominica with the Iron Lady of the Caribbean as well. There was also, just gonna look at the stats here for you really quick. There was also Antigua, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia as well from what I'm seeing here. And one more elimination. I do see St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, St. Kitts and Nevis, Dominica, Antigua, Barbados, Jamaica, and the interim government led by Sir Paul Scoon and Nicholas Brathwaite. So from there, those are all the Caribbean nations. And like you said, the ones that opposed that were, of course, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Trinidad and Tobago, of course, Guyana, not to be confused with the African Ghana, and not to be confused with French Guiana, or what will be later known as Suriname in a couple of years for the Dutch. And of course, there was other two that opposed the invasion. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. And until next time, this is the NN signing out. All right, and those are the Bahamas and Belize. I can't leave my Caribbean peoples out. But anyway, bye-bye.